Hey there, I'm Rachel Carpenter, the CEO of Intrinio. If you or someone you know runs a startup and is thinking about fundraising in the next year, make sure to watch until the end of this video. The startup fundraising landscape has gone through a wild transformation in the past few years. Pretty much everything has changed, so let's dive into my 2024 startup fundraising tips. Tech, venture capital, and the startup landscape are all undergoing a seismic shift, and it is crucial to understand the new dynamics. So, here's a snapshot of what's been happening. First of all, we can't ignore the economic uncertainty that has hung over us for the past several years, especially in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. These uncertainties have impacted investor sentiment and startup valuations in a big way, and they've influenced pretty much everything we're going to cover today. Global deal volume declined for a sixth straight quarter. This has been the lowest deal volume since 2016. The venture capital landscape has seen a 32.3% year-over-year decline in the number of deals getting funded, dropping from over 9,000 to just about 6,000 during the first half of 2023. This trend highlights the challenges startups are facing across funding stages. And if you are in fintech specifically, which is where we spend a lot of our time focusing at Intrinio, just look at how steep this decline in deals has been so far this year. It's not just the number of deals. Average deal size is drastically down as well. Total venture funding at this point in the year is less than half of what it was in 2022. This leads us to an important point. Smaller deals are, to a degree, still getting done, but the slowdown is really in the mid to late stage funding. Case in point, this past year, we've had the lowest level of unicorns since 2016. Over half of the VC deals that got done this past year were seed and Series A rounds. While this does mean more volume and cash for early stage startups, it also translates to tougher criteria for securing funding. The competition is fierce. Now, if you're starting to think about your exit strategy, don't get too excited. M&A deals also continued to trend significantly down this year. We actually saw the lowest level of transactions since 2020. So, if we could use one quote to sum up the state of startup fundraising as we finish off 2023, it would be this one by Nicole Priel, partner and managing director at Ibex Investors. The correction in the private markets hasn't fully worked its way through the system, so we don't expect to see a meaningful recovery in the venture industry before the second quarter of 2024. We're starting to observe positive offshoots returning to the public markets, with preparations for IPOs and large transactions underway, which ultimately should trickle down to the private markets. The TLDR? Deal size, volume, valuations, and M&A activity have all declined in the past year. Economic uncertainty is still haunting us, and experts don't expect things to turn around, at least in the first half of next year. It doesn't sound or feel great if you are a founder. It actually might feel a little bit like a crisis. Now, the Chinese character for crisis has been widely popularized in Western culture, thanks to JFK, and it is said to also include a character for opportunity. This is technically false. The second character can more closely be translated as change point. This Chinese character for crisis is reminding us that during a crisis, you've got to change the way you do things. So, here are my top fundraising tips for founders in 2024. Tip number 1. Focus on sustainability. As the economy falters, fundraising dries up, and wallets get tightened, startups face an incredibly risky situation, and some of them could be facing a cash crunch. This means the venture appetite for bottom line growth far outweighs top line growth. Profitability, sustainability, and conservatism are being rewarded in this market. You may want to consider slimming down your operations, focusing on cash generation, and aiming for profitability. This is actually a great opportunity for you to revisit and gut check your strategy. It'll force you to work smarter with less, and it is likely to transform your organization into an efficient engine. You may also want to consider leveraging debt. Interest rates are brutal, but your investors are unlikely to have an appetite for the dilution of raising a round in this environment. This will all be a foundational change in how you run your business, but it's what the market is rewarding in 2024. And it is a surefire way to outlast your competitors. Tip number 2, Build relationships. Networking has always been essential, no matter how much you hate it. But right now, it's actually more crucial than ever. Fundraising is all about relationships, and getting friendly with funds that are technically too big for you will pay dividends down the road. So take the time to cultivate relationships with potential investors, mentors, and even fellow entrepreneurs. This environment may not be right for you to raise right now, so building your pipeline and your investor CRM, it's the best use of your time. Tip number 3, be adaptable. In times of change, adaptability is your greatest asset. Be prepared to pivot your strategy based on market conditions and investor sentiments. The ability to adjust your pitch and your business model to align with ever-evolving trends will set you apart. So, if your investors don't have an appetite for a new round of fundraising, should you consider debt? If you are running low on cash, do you need to slim the team down? If you were spending $100,000 a month on ads and you need to slash the budget, should you experiment with organic marketing tactics? As the tech, venture, and startup ground moves underneath you, you should regularly ask yourself what option C is. I literally have the letter C tattooed on my finger as a reminder to always consider the third way when making decisions. Okay, so as we close out the year and start thinking about our 2024 strategy, keep these tips in mind to stay ahead of the curve. The challenges facing startups today are real, but so are the opportunities. With the right strategy and mindset, your startup can thrive in this dynamic landscape. Thanks for tuning in, and I wish you the best of luck in your fundraising journey ahead. If you found this video valuable, please don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more insights from Intrinio.